Boxing Day to those who celebrate Boxing Day. If you do not celebrate Boxing Day, then happy day after Christmas. We got things to talk about. So before we jump into my best and worst of 2023 video, which I have notes and I'm ready for, super ready to do this video. Couple of things. One, Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble. They have done for quite a few years now 50% off hardbacks day after Christmas. I had my little coin ready. If you see, I have new shelf. I have a new shelf. It goes along, I'm scooching. It goes right along with my other shelves. I just picked that up at Target. It was like $40. It was not expensive. It was not like my nice one that's behind my head. But I just needed something because my books were getting too many and too clustered on the other shelves. So we picked up a new shelf. I'm going to do a full book haul for Christmas, like all the books I got for Christmas, but we have to wait until next week because some of them are in the mail to me. I had expected to go to Barnes & Noble today and get 50% off of hardbacks. Alas, I was getting ready this morning and received an email that my hardbacks would only be 33% off, and I did the math. And it was still cheaper to buy them at Books A Million, even without the 33% off sale. So that's what I did. I had them shipped to me because I don't have a Books A Million super local. It's like 45 minutes away. I'm not driving that. They generally get them to me within 3 or 4 days when I ordered them online from Books A Million. So they got my business this year. Book Outlet and Books A Million and Target are where I got all of my books for Christmas from this year. And I got a lot of them. I think I got, when I show you guys the haul, I think I got 12 books for Christmas. And I'm really, really excited to share that haul with you guys. But it's going to have to be like the first week of January because I've got to wait on shipping now. I had expected to be able to walk into Barnes & Noble and get the last couple of books, but didn't happen. Sorry. Blame Barnes & Noble. What else do we got? Oh, I got a adorable Miyoki Christmas cup for my cousin. Yes, you will be seeing it a few more days because it's a really freaking good cup. I'm probably going to purchase one that is not Christmas from this company because Stanley's are like $40, $50 and this cup works just as good. And I think that my cousin got it for me on a TikTok sale for like $6. It was like 2 for $15 or something super, super cheap. So yay for that. If you can hear my washer in the background just doing its final spin, I apologize. I waited as long as I wanted to this morning to do this video, but I knew it was going to be a long video and I needed to get it rolling and I was sick of waiting for the washer to finish spinning. So I think that it's good. I think it's almost done. I just heard a click. You may also hear my coffee pot. Like I was saying, you may also hear my coffee pot brewing over here. We got a really early start this morning. I think I got up at 4:30 this morning, 4:30, 5 o'clock this morning. Went to Target for some Christmas sales, etc., etc. But you guys are here for one reason and one reason only. Coffee and Lore, best of 2023. We're doing one book per month, best book and worst book. I don't want to say worst book because some of these are not bad books. Let me clarify. Some of these are not bad books. Some of them were biggest letdowns, okay? And when I go through, I'll tell you whether it was a crappy book in general or if it was just a letdown. But yeah, I'm super excited to do this with you guys. It was really difficult. I read some bangers this year, like just absolute bangers. So we're going to go through and we're going to talk about my favorite book of the month and my least favorite book of the month. There you go. Not best and worst. Favorite and least favorite and why they are on that category. Okay. We're starting strong in January. The second book I read in January, I thought was going to be my favorite book of the year. And that was Jodi Picoult's most recent book, Wish You Were Here. If you have not read Jodi Picoult's work, it's really, really heartbreaking and beautiful. I'm a major fan. I think my favorite Jodi Picoult book is The Storyteller, but I've read a few of her others. She wrote My Sister's Keeper. If you watched that movie, she wrote the book that movie was based on. Just Wish You Were Here was so good, and it was exactly what I needed when I read it. It has got to do with the pandemic. It also has to do with the unconscious mind. It was so good, and I thought it was going to be my favorite book of the year. I should have known in January I wasn't going to read my favorite book of the year, but it was still one of my top 10 books of the year. So that is my favorite book in January. My least favorite book in January is The Fine Print by Laura Nash. That is the only book in that series I read. I did one and done. I liked the premise of this Disney World-esque mogul and one of his workers, I guess. I don't know. It was a lot happening in that book. It just wasn't good. Let's be honest. There was some power play stuff that got weird. It just was not for me. I don't kink shame, but there was just... I read monster romances, and there was just something that didn't sit right with me about that romance. It just didn't. So that was my least favorite of January. In February, I read Way of Kings. Naturally, that is my favorite book of February. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful piece of work. Absolutely love it. You're going to see a couple of Brandon Sanderson books on here. Brandon Sanderson wrote Way of Kings, if I didn't say that. But yeah, absolutely loved it. It was my introduction to Stormlight, and it grabbed me, put me in a chokehold. If you watched one of my last videos, I read 16 Brandon Sanderson novels this year, and most of it is because I read Way of Kings in February, and it was my favorite book of February. My least favorite book of February was an easy one, because it was a trash book, and that was The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. I'm not a massive fan of men writing female leading characters where the book is about female empowerment. That's not my favorite shtick. And it also was not done well. If you can at least do it well, okay. There are men out there who write wonderful female characters. There are. Grady Hendrix isn't one of them for me, and I'm sorry if you love his books. But that is the first and only Grady Hendrix book I've ever read. I'm good. March. Good old March. We read Warbreaker. We also read Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, and I had to pick. But my favorite book of March is Warbreaker. That book was so good the first time I read it. Like I said, I don't know if I have a bias because I read this gorgeous Dragonsteel leather-bound copy. And the artwork is so beautiful in it. And that added to the whimsy of it. But Warbreaker is just a good book, guys. It is one of my favorite Brandon Sanderson books. Very closely almost was my favorite book of the whole year. But alas, another Sanderson book took that title. Least favorite book in March went to Katie Roberts' Electric Idol. Now, this is one that wasn't a terrible trash book. It was a bit of a letdown because I really liked Neon Gods a lot, and I felt like Electric Idol was a little slower. Just didn't do it for me. I still gave it like a respectable 3 point something, but it was my lowest ranked book in March. I read about 150 books a year. So I do weed a lot of books out because I'm not one of those girls that's reading 10 books a week. You know what I mean? and getting in the 200 and 300s for my books. I think I read a reasonable amount at 150 because I am not reading absolutely everything I get my hands on. So some of these months I didn't read a terrible book. Like I read 10 to 15 solid books. Maybe one great one. But yeah, I put Electric Idol here. It was not a horrible book. It was just my least favorite for the month of March. There were some really good books in March. So, sorry, Katie Robert fans. I, too, like to read Katie Robert. That just, it's how the cards fell, people. Okay? April. My favorite book was 28 Summers by Elin Hilderbrand. And since then, I've been chasing that feeling with Elin Hilderbrand. I've read a couple of hers since this book, and none of them have given me the same feeling. So I think I'm awash with Elin Hilderbrand. I think I'm good on her books because Hotel Nantucket really left me wanting, and I just can't keep doing it to myself. 28 Summers was phenomenal. Absolutely loved it. I think that was like her high point. And I got it, and I'm going to stop chasing it with her books, I think. My least favorite for April, this one, once again, was not a terrible book. It just was not for me. And that was Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think Daisy Jones and the Six was made to be an Amazon Prime show. I think as a show, it played fantastically. But with Daisy Jones and the Six, I absolutely loved the premise of it. I can remember texting the Crochet Fairy, my friend, and being like, this book is going to be good. It's about a 70s band and all of this, and it's almost like Fleetwood Mac-y, or Fleetwood Mac-esque. Fleetwood Mac-y was weird, but Fleetwood Mac-esque. I can't talk it. I got up too fucking early. Okay. I just let myself down, and TikTok let me down because it was a formatting problem and not a story problem. The story with Daisy Jones and the Six is really good, but Daisy Jones and the Six is meant to be an Amazon Prime show. Okay, the format was a weird combination of interview and like script and song, and it didn't read well as a novel to me. It was meant to be a show. I'm super fucking pumped that they made it into a show because the story is good. So yeah, Daisy Jones and the Six was my least favorite read in April, and that bummed me out. I can remember being physically bummed out when I read this book. Just because I liked Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo so much. All right, we're into May. No surprises here, though it is controversial. But Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros was my favorite read in May. It was my favorite read in May. Is it a literary work of art and grammatically perfect and all of those things? Hell no. Hell no. Is it tropey as hell? Yeah. Yeah, it is. Do I eat those tropes up like cereal in the morning? Absolutely. Okay? Enemies to Lovers is my favorite trope. There is nothing like hating somebody so much because they're so good at something or because you secretly love them and then it turning into that passionate love affair. I live for an enemies to lovers. This was great enemies to lovers. I think Fourth Wing is great. I can remember being in the biggest book slump when I finished for Fourth Wing. I was like, oh, what am I going to read now? I immediately reread Fourth Wing. That's how good it was. I've read Fourth Wing probably 4 times this year. Just chasing the vibes. Chasing the vibes that I got from that book. Absolutely love it. Zayden Ryerson is my favorite book boyfriend. I digress. I will defend it until the day I die. Fourth Wing was my favorite read of May. Least favorite read of May, honestly, was a Jodi Picoult. It was, I guess, a novella. Her novella Mermaid. I started dabbling into Audible, and you're going to see a couple of Audible things on this list. I started dabbling into Audible this year more heavily than I ever have before. But I had a lot of knitting projects that I needed to get done this year, and I made like 5 blankets for Christmas presents. And I started kind of early, plus I did a blanket for a summer birthday. I delved more into Audible this year, is the story. And I was looking for different Audible books, and this came up as free on Audible, and it was a Jodi Picoult. I love Jodi Picoult's work. I've told you that. So I listened to it. It was not good. Mermaid was my least favorite read of this month. It was not good because there was not a lot of plot happening. And what I have come to find with some of these free Audible books that I find, it's just not good plot. Some of it is really like, there's no mountain. It's like, here's a problem, we never quite get to the solution, and it's over. Or in one of these, there wasn't even a problem. So, I digress. Mermaid by Jodi Picoult, least favorite of May. In June, my favorite, and this was a tough one, because there were some really, really, really good books in June. But I gave it to Song of Achilles. The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, because it really jump-started my kind of Greek love. I have some up there. I have Song of Achilles. I have my Daughters of Sparta. I also ordered, I'm going to mess up how you say this, but I believe it's Atalantia. It was like the number 2 YA book of the year or something like that. Or maybe it was the number 2 romantasy on Goodreads Awards. Anyways, it looks really, really good. It follows that whole kind of thing. So yeah, we ordered that one. Okay, so Song of Achilles definitely started off my kind of obsession with the Greek time period again. And I ordered Atalantia. I'll show it to you in my Christmas book haul. I'm really excited to get that one. So that was my favorite of June. My least favorite of June goes to Off to the Races by Elsie Silver. I absolutely love her series that's like Hopeless, Flawless, Powerless, the kind of ranch series. It's something Creek, and I keep wanting to say Crescent Creek, and Crescent Creek is not it. Chestnut Creek, I believe is what it is called. And it is absolutely phenomenal. Really big fan of that particular series of hers. Devoured every one of those books. So I was in a lull in reading, and I was like, I had read all the Chestnut Hills, Chestnut Creek books by her. So I was like, let me go ahead and try another one of her series. And I read Off to the Races, and it was not for me. Was not for me. I just couldn't get into it. I don't know if I needed to give it more time, but yeah. Could not get into it. I believe I DNF'd it. July. Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross was my favorite July read. I absolutely loved that book. I'm so excited to read Ruthless Vows. I'm actually a little bit nervous about putting this out this early in December. Yes, it's going up like the 30th, but I'm recording it on the 26th because I have not read Ruthless Vows yet. And I'm scared it's going to be my favorite book of December. But my favorite book of December is a really good one. Like a really good one. And so if the best I think it would do is like tie it, honestly. So I'm okay with it. But my least favorite book in July was another controversial one. We love those. The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. I'm sorry if I keep looking down. I have notes. Katherine Arden, Bear and the Nightingale. I don't know if it was the place and time I was reading it. I don't know, because I was on my English Channel cruise when I read this book. And it just was not the vibe. I don't know. It was not the vibe, guys. It was so slow. Like, a slow burn is good. And I'm not the biggest fan of Russian lit, but I mean, it's okay. It's pretty good. And it had very much a Russian lit vibe to it. But it was just freaking slow. I could not get into this book for anything. I did finish it, but I did not enjoy it. Just didn't. And that really bums me out because I know some like influencers who do book influencing and things that really highly recommended this book and love this book, and I want to like pick their brains. Like, what did you love about this book so much that you told me it's your favorite book of all time? Because I missed it. It didn't connect with me. August, my birthday month. I'm going to cheat because it's my birthday month, and I get 2 favorite reads for this month because it's my birthday month. But I read my favorite book of the year in August, Tress of the Emerald Sea. I received it for my birthday. Not the Dragonsteel copy. I just got that for Christmas. But I received a copy of Tress of the Emerald Sea for my birthday. And it is my favorite book of the year. It is whimsical. It is beautiful. It is adventure. It is pirates. It is fun world building. It is quirky characters. It is all of the things. If you are a Princess Bride person, read Tress of the Emerald Sea. You will absolutely love it. And I get a second one because it's my birthday month. And also, I couldn't not put this book on here because it was so good. And that's One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I also received that for my birthday because it was one that I had been watching for a while, people saying how good it was, and I really freaking wanted to find out how good it was. And this one, I was so happy because I do get let down a lot by TikTok or Book Talk. This one did not let me down. This one kept coming up as what to read after Fourth Wing if you're in a Fourth Wing slump. Need I say this one was a little bit better than Fourth Wing for me. I really, really liked this book. It is enemies to lovers, but it is also like dark magic. I really loved the magic system in this because they call them Providence cards, but they're like tarot cards, and you tap the card on your person to use that card's magic, and like they have different magics that they do depending on the card. The magic system was really well thought out, and I freaking loved it. One Dark Window and Tress of the Emerald Sea are both my top reads of August, and like I said, fight me. I'm picking 2 books that month. It is my birthday month. I was not picking between those 2. I already had to pick between Warbreaker and Words of Radiance. I wasn't picking between One Dark Window and Tress of the Emerald Sea. I wasn't doing it. I digress. My least favorite book of August. I hate to even put it on here because it was not a bad book. It was quite a good book, but I read some absolute bangers in August because of it being my birthday month. I'd been waiting to purchase or to receive some of these books. And so I just read a bunch of bangers in August. And so my least favorite was Sarah Penner's The Last Apothecary. And it wasn't a bad book. It was not as good as I had built it up in my mind to be because it kept being talked about. But it wasn't a bad book. It just was a smidgen of a letdown for me. So it did go as my least favorite book of August. Yeah. We're into September. We are into September. And my favorite book of September is... I read all of Throne of Glass in September. Like, the whole shit and shebang. Except for the prequel. Assassin's Blade and Throne of Glass I had read previously. And I was like, no, I'm finishing this series. Like, I'm just going to sit down. I'm going to mark my calendar out of books. And I'm going to read straight through these books. So that obviously takes the cake for the best of September. Because it, as a whole, is freaking amazing. Picking a favorite was hard. I have written down here Heir of Fire, or Tower of Dawn. And I know a lot of people do not like Tower of Dawn because there's no Aelin in it. But I love Chaol and his wife's story. God, I know her name begins with a Y, but I keep wanting to say Ygritte, but that's Game of Thrones. Irene, thank you. I love Chaol and Irene's story a lot, and I loved Tower of Dawn. I thought it was a really cool world change. Not world, it's in the same world, but place change. What's the word I'm looking for here? Scenery. Change of scenery. I thought it was a really good change of scenery. I really enjoyed the way that it was described. All right, this is like my longest video ever. We need to power through here. My least favorite book of September was Breath of Fire by Amanda Bichette. I DNF'd that book, and it was the only 1 star that I gave for the year of 2023. I did not like it. And that really sucks because I think Promise of Fire got like a 4.5, the first book in that series. I don't know what the hell happened in book 2, but it just got so cheesy, and I just didn't like book 2. So I DNF'd it, and I gave it 1 star after the easiest riddle known to mankind was like supposed to be this big deal. Anyways, I have a whole video on why I DNF'd that book, if you want to go find it. October. My favorite read in October, I read some good books in October, but my favorite read in October was Castles in Their Bones by Laura Sebastian. I just ordered hard copies of Castles in Their Bones and Stardust in Their Veins. That was my sleeper of the year. I had never read Laura Sebastian, and I read all of her Ash Princess series, and I read Castles in Their Bones and Stardust in Their Veins by her this year. And Castles in Their Bones was fucking phenomenal. And so was Stardust in Their Veins. I thoroughly enjoyed those books. So much so that I needed them for my shelf. So I ordered hardback copies of them. My least favorite read in October was a book called Lucy by Erica Schmidt. It is on Audible. It was like a free thriller. It was awful. I read it on the way back from Cherokee. We'll listen to it on the way back from Cherokee with my best friend. And we both, at the end, were like, what the hell was that book and what the hell happened? It was terrible. Do not waste your time. It is supposed to be a thriller about a gone bad nanny, but you end that book with more questions than answers. So that's why I got my worst book of October. November, my favorite book was Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. Was it literally perfect? No. Was it highly anticipated by me? Yes. Did it give me the throne scene? Yes. It was my favorite read of November. Fight me. Like, I'm not saying that these books are great or phenomenal or works of literary perfection. I'm saying they were my favorite that I read this month. So November goes to Iron Flame. My least favorite was, once again, not a bad book. It was just my least favorite that I read in November. And there's a reason for that. It was Blue Moon by Laurel K. Hamilton. In September, October, November, I was working my way through the Anita Blake series. I will probably jump back on that and hopefully get pretty close to finishing it in 2024. However, Blue Moon was a change of scenery that I think did not do what it needed to do. It was really slow, and you were missing some of your favorite characters for a lot of the book. Jean-Claude wasn't in the majority of that book. And having come from the previous book where Jean-Claude was a huge part of the book, it felt weird. It felt awkward. The following book after Blue Moon goes right back to like taking place at Dance Macabre. I probably really said that wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. Jean-Claude Strip Club and Guilty Pleasures and all of that. Takes right back, jumps in. So Blue Moon feels out of place and weird, and like, why are we doing this mountain book where half of the main characters aren't even there? So yeah, Blue Moon wasn't a bad book. I still read it. I still enjoyed it. but it just was not my favorite of November. It was my least favorite, in fact. And then we get to finally December. December, my favorite book. It is the 26th of December. I have maybe 2 to 3 books I plan to finish before the new year. Nothing crazy, but there's a chance Ruthless Vows is going to bump this book out. I don't think so. I think the best it would do would be like a tie. I really, really, really loved Brynne Weaver's Butcher and the Blackbird. I have a video on it. It felt refreshing. I did do the dramatic reading on the Audible where it was the 2 characters reading, and the male character was so good. Rowan, whoever voice, if you go watch my video, I talk about it and I say the voice actor's name. But the voice for Rowan was so spot on. This book was phenomenal to do in Audible format. Highly recommend. My favorite Audible of the year, but definitely my favorite read of December. I don't see Ruthless Vows bumping it out. The most it could do would tie it. And my least favorite December read to end this was my only holiday-themed Christmas read that I read this month. I did not do last year. I did a ton of Christmas reads in December. Like I did a whole video full of just Christmas reads. I read one this year. It was Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. It was my least favorite read of December. I don't know if Christmas just felt a little different this year. Maybe because my daughter's like largest Christmas present was something that I didn't physically wrap. It was a trip that she is going on. And it felt like a weird year this year for Christmas. I didn't read a lot of Christmas themed books. Didn't watch a lot of Christmas themed movies. I watched Jingle All the Way and How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That was it for the whole month of December. The night of the 25th, my tree came down. It was a weird Christmas for me. You guys know I love Christmas. I still love Christmas. But it just was a more laid-back Christmas this year. I didn't read a lot of Christmas-themed things. And the only one that I did read was my least favorite of December. Take that what you will. I read 150-something books this year. That's just not that quick. I tried to make it quick. This ended up being pretty long-winded. But that's just like a highs and lows. If you want to follow me on Goodreads, you can see all of my ratings there for everything that I read. I am really looking forward to seeing you guys in 2024. Thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting, all of the things that you do when you share the videos. It means so much to me. We grew quite a bit this year. We're still growing, and I really appreciate that because that motivates me to keep reviewing books for you. I'm never going to stop reading. There's literally nothing that could happen that would stop me from reading. But it motivates me to get on here and want to do reviews for you guys because I know people are watching. And that is a thrilling thing. So yeah, tell me what some of your highlights and lowlights for 2023 were, your favorites, your least favorites, all that good stuff. I will have a full wrapped for December, probably on New Year's Day. And I also have a huge, huge book haul coming for Christmas. I got so many freaking books for Christmas. I cannot wait to share them with you. We are doing probably a no book by January, because I'm probably going to pre-order Crescent City 3. So then we will do a no book by January once I pre-order Crescent City 3, just because I bought so many freaking books. I love you guys so much. Thank you for joining me, and Merry Christmas again.